Xolani, good morning. Thank you very much and compliments.
Good morning, Brad. Let me greet the viewers as well.
Thank you very much for coming in. Overall, Sadtu's response, reaction to the Matric results of 2019?
We are satisfied. We welcome the results of the class of 2019, but then, Brad, we welcome it with a sense of caution as well. Whilst we might want to celebrate the 3.1% improvement, which is of course welcome, we also are saying in our statement that it is due to the hard work that we put in the classroom, the hard hours, despite the lack of resources. But what concerns us is the decline in enrollment of gateway subjects, of technical subjects as well. And we very much link that to the foundation phase. And that is why we have also called, as a union, we have called for greater investment in the foundation phase, in the ECD phase. And we are saying that is where the greater challenges are. Right now, what we are seeing, Braden, we are seeing a system, whilst it is stabilizing, but it is a system that relies heavily on the weekend classes, on the afternoon classes, on the whole day classes, the morning classes, etc. It shows you that there is something that is definitely not right if we cannot do it within the allocated time in terms of curriculum delivery. So it tells you that there certainly is a lot that we can still do to improve the system, but we welcome the fact that it is stabilizing. And the educators have helped to achieve these results under difficult circumstances.
Absolutely. Because in your statement you also refer to the scourge of violence in our schools.
Absolutely, it concerns us. Just earlier today, I see you were interviewing the principal from Kitty Nkondo. Earlier today we were there. And of course, she mentions, for instance, how young the teaching complement is in that particular school. Now, what we are seeing currently that is beginning to become a trend is that teaching as a profession is no longer as attractive anymore because of the kind of conditions of service that we are faced. And one of those becomes the violence in schools. But then we are quite passionate about that. And we are saying that teaching cannot be seen as a dangerous profession, and it is slowly getting there.
Now, to improve the system, as you said, besides resources, what other investments would you want as educators? You are there in the front line of teaching our children. What kind of investments would you like to see government making?
Well, continuous professional teacher development. That's one of the biggest issues that we're saying the government must start. I mean, we've seen the previous years whereby proportionately, the department, for instance, would budget more for assessments, teacher assessments, and less, comparatively speaking, to other countries of a similar anatomy like ours, and less on teacher development, continuous professional development. And we're saying that is where we perhaps should start. For instance, Braden, when we speak of the issue of mathematics, right now we have seen the enrollment of mathematics drop by just about 14,000 learners. And we are saying that the crisis there, Braden, will always be there so long as a majority of our learners do not have the advantage of the home language, for instance. Home languages are stagnating.
So you as a union, you are making practical suggestions.
Absolutely.
How things must be done. What would you think would resolve the issue? We've had an increase of schools that had a 0%. If there's something like that, there is 0% pass rate. Yeah. Nobody passed Matric in those schools. I think they've gone up from 12 to 16.
Yes. They are 16 right now.
What's Sadtu's view on that?
Well, there are 16 right now, the schools that got 0%. But now, then when you look at it, out of the 16 schools, all of them are between quintile 1 to quintile 3, which are the poorer schools. They're in rural areas, they're in township areas. Now, 10 out of the 16 schools are in quintile 1, which is the poorest of the schools, which means these are no-fee paying schools. Now, it tells you, Praten, that definitely there is a resource element to it. Now, I'm asking myself that, I mean, those schools that go 0%, do they even have libraries? Do they have laboratories? The teachers there, do they have administrative support staff? Some of the teachers there, but they actually teach mini mass meetings, in actual fact, instead of classrooms, because of this unfavorable learner to teacher ratios. So we still have got a lot to do in that sense.
Okay, and finally, and briefly, Xolani, extracurricular activities play a very important role in the development of people in a holistic way, not just the books and the learnings.
Absolutely.
What's your view as Sadtu on that?
Well, we are very, very, very firm on that as well. We are saying that for us to develop the ideal South African, the well-rounded, critical thinking South African, we must also put an emphasis on extracurricular activities. Remember, brother, not everyone, not every learner that goes through our hands will end up in the academic stream, will end up being a lawyer or a doctor. Some of them will actually end up being professional sports people. Some will be artists, by the way. So we're saying that let us also emphasize on that particular point, particularly for the lower quintile schools, Q1, Q3. When we develop our learners, let us develop them holistically. Let us explore their potential, and let us make sure that we can use their talent productively.
So investment in those areas.
Absolutely.
Xolani, Fakude, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother.
And I guess you need to congratulate your members for a job well done.
They did absolutely well. Under the most difficult of circumstances, we are absolutely proud of them. They did very well.
Keep on working working hard.
Thank you, Brother.
Educate our children. That's Xolani Fakude from the South African Democratic Teachers Union giving us his organization's response and reaction to the results of the class of Matric of 2019.